Keeping the creative spark alive. Once upon a time, way back in the early 2000s, that time when life was simple and easy and people could congregate, there lived a girl who didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. She enjoyed art, but was not creative enough to be an artist. She enjoyed science, but not enough to be a scientist. And she enjoyed history, but didn't want to be a curator. Then one day, her fairy godmother, disguised as a secondary school teacher, suggested she explore the magical world of art conservation. Immediately, she knew she had found her passion and calling in life. She worked hard and built a career, and when people asked her why she wanted to be a conservator, she replied, to not be stuck behind a desk or in front of a computer every day, to be out on site, working in historic environments, and to work in a hands-on capacity with collections items. Life was blissful until the year 2020, when a terrible curse was unleashed upon the earth. A pandemic raged across the globe, with millions of people dying from a disease named after a beer. All the leaders of countries were replaced with fat white men sporting questionable hairstyles, and the people of the world forgot to stick together in the face of crisis and instead started attacking each other. In an attempt to stop the spread of the beer disease, everyone was told to stay home and, if possible, work from home. The conservator was hugely lucky to still have a job, as a lot of her colleagues had been furloughed or laid off. At first, it was fun not having to wake up early every morning, get squashed on public transportation, or juggle life admin with working hours. But as the weeks passed, she became lonely, struggled with switching off from work, and got headaches from staring at a screen all day. She realized that her dream job had turned into all the things she never wanted to do. When she researched, she learned that as well as the upsides to working from home, there were some serious health issues that could crop up. Burnout, overeating, anxiety, insomnia, weight gain, back strain, eye strain, just to name a few. The conservator realized that for her to survive during this cursed time, she would need to dig deep and reconnect with the creativity that once flourished through her conservation work. So she thought back to her time pre-conservation and the activities she enjoyed. She bought a colouring book and some colouring pencils and started colouring during meetings. This took her eyes off the screen, gave her hands something to do, and actually increased her concentration on what her colleagues were saying. Inspired by this, she decided to revisit painting by numbers, which she had loved as a child. She found that the concentration, hand skills, and patience needed to tackle a complicated painting were the same skills needed for conservation treatment work. This made her feel as if she were continuing to use her conservation muscles, even without touching her beloved collections objects. She remembered that she loved doing puzzles. However, with her magical menagerie of animals at home, as well as the postage stamp-sized house she occupied, jigsaw puzzles would likely prove more frustrating than calming. However, she had always loved cross-stitch from when her grandmother taught her as a child, and so wished upon a Google search engine and found a program that turned photographs into cross-stitch patterns. Up for a challenge, she chose the biggest size with the most colours to make it as complicated as possible. Encouraged by her journey into the physical arts, she thought about what other art forms she could incorporate into her life. She connected with a magical wizard named Gusto, who taught her how to cook deliciously healthy meals. She put down the television remote and instead immersed herself in the literary arts, traveling to faraway lands, living other people's lives, and of course, solving many murders. Finally, she explored the horticultural arts, amazed at what a bit of patience, water, and sun could create from tiny seeds. In March of 2021, the curse was still raging and the conservator was still at home. It turned out that the ringing in of the new year was not the spell to break the curse as everyone had hoped. But as she reflected on the year that was 2020, she realized how much happier, calmer, healthier, and more successful at her job she'd been since bringing creativity and the arts back into her life. Then it hit her. If everyone brought the arts into their life and felt this way, surely that would break the curse. But how to spread the message? Well, through a tried and tested method, obviously. Oh, wait. That's better. The conservator spread her message far and wide, and as 2021 moved through its seasons, love began to replace hate, creativity blossomed, and the disease receded. As a lover of proper documentation, the conservator knew that unless her message was recorded, humanity could easily be tricked into thinking that capitalism and greed were what made the world turn, and the curse would appear again. So she implored her colleagues to write it into the history books, teach it within school curriculums, and pass it down orally through the generations. The lovers and creators of art became the custodians of its magical powers, extending its reach and spreading love across the lands. And the world lived happily ever after. The end.